to My RC Life, where we do all things RC and a little bit of everything in between. 4th of July weekend this year, me and my son had the Trans Am out for a little joyride, and it spun a rod bearing, I think on number 5. Yes, number 5 rod bearing. It wasn't horrible. It's a really light knock. Actually, you couldn't even hear it at an idle. I heard it when I was going down the road at 55, but when I slowed down to like 40, 45, I couldn't hear it. So we went real slow, got home, and the motor came out. Originally, we were going to maybe just get the crank turned and slide a set of bearings in it. But a lot more than that happened, and here is everything that transpired. All right, here we are at the machine shop. Here's the motor here. Jerry, he's the man. He got her all put together, didn't you, Jerry?
Yeah, finally, got the right parts.
Yeah, she's going to run now, guys, so I got to get this home, and we'll start putting her together. All right, everybody, so we got the complete block. We decked the surface, 30 over. It's been line board and all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and get it in here on the motor stand. I didn't do much recording of pulling the motor out, but there's my car. You drop it out through the bottom on these cars. Pulling them out through the top is really hard. But you drop this whole K-member, boop, pull the motor from that. And then here sits all the stuff from my motor. Got my timing stuff here, oil pump, which we got a new oil pump, all my push rods and stuff, my rocker arms. We got new head bolts, obviously. And this is a lot of the dressing off the front of the motor. The OptiSpark distributor, crank pulley, harmonic balancer, water pump, water lines, air pump and stuff, the starter, some more of this idler pulley here, got the alternator, then here's the old cam, and here's the lifters. We got a new cam to go in it, and then here's the valve covers, intake gaskets, brand new crank. Here's a bunch of those new parts I was talking about, motor bolts and gaskets and everything. And here's the heads and the intake. So we're going to go ahead and get started and get this up in here. And I'm going to put it on a time lapse, and you guys can watch it as it goes. All right, here we go. It's a 5.7 liter LT-1 board 30 over. So it used to be a 350, but technically it's a 355 now, I guess. I always hated it when people would say, oh, I got a 355. But I guess if it's board 30 over, it's a 355. So that's where we sit. We got all new freeze plugs in it everywhere. All the oil galleys, everything, all the plugs have been changed. And we went with the nicer copper ones, I guess, or brass, or whatever, the nicer ones. She looks really good. As you can tell, she's brand new. If I was gonna do it, I might as well do it right. Why go half-ass when it's already down this far? New cam bearings. So yeah, she's all doing good. Now I'm gonna move you to the time lapse and start putting this bad boy together. Alright, first I'm going to go ahead and sit in the main bearings. Get those slid in there. And I set the crank in there, make sure it all spins good. Then I put in the other half of the main bearings, the top half and the caps. Now I had to pull this timing gear off the old crank. Put it on the new one. Now I am torquing down the caps. Now I have to put all the new rings on the new pistons. I've never done this before on on a car, on a two-stroke motorcycle or something. It's simple. These are a bit more intricate. Now it's time to put the pistons in the cylinder. This is a very tedious job. You got to be careful. You don't want to bust a ring when you're putting them in there. Be real nice and soft when you tap them into the cylinder. Make sure that your studs on your rod don't mar up the surface of the crank. Okay, now I'm putting the rod caps on, and I had all 8 rods resized as well. I used the same rods that were in the car. I didn't get new ones, but I did have them resized. Get them on, torque them all down. Now you see how far the old dowel sticks out of the cam there, out of the old cam. We got to do the same on the new cam. See, it sticks out quite a bit more. All right, we're just gonna grind her down. Okay, I got a little mark there. Chamfer it. All right, and a good way to check if they are exactly the same is hold them up to each other like this. Yep, looks good to me. I am coating the camshaft with assembly lube. This is very important. If you don't have assembly lube, you can use transmission fluid or even oil. And then I put the timing gear on. All right, guys, here we are, day 2 on the LT-1 build. Yesterday, I got all the rings in the pistons, got the pistons installed, got the crank in, got the crank torqued down, the piston caps torqued down. I got this gear onto the crank. I had to pull it off and press it on. I got the timing chain and timing gears on. I just bought these bolts because I was missing one. I lost one, so I bought some new bolts and put those on just a couple seconds ago, but that's all I've done today. I got this little thing here that runs the water pump. Got that in. But yeah, all the pistons are in. Everything's in the bottom. As you can see, got to make sure all the tangs are facing out, which they are. Out that way, so the smooth side of the rods are sitting together, and all the rods are supposed to move back just a little bit. Every one of them, and they all do. You can even hear them. Okay, so all those are in, and now today I guess I'm going to start by putting the seals, new seals in the timing cover. Right here. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys back on time lapse and continue working. Okay, I'm cleaning up the timing cover and knocking out the old seals. Very important to get that old gasket cleaned off of the timing cover. Then I need to clean off the oil pan. You got to get those metal shavings from when I spun the bearing. You got to get all those metal shavings out of the oil pan and everywhere else on the motor. Now I went ahead and installed the oil pump dry shaft, and then I'm installing the oil pump as well. My Uncle Gail's giving me a little hand here because it did go in a little tough. And then I'm installing the galley, the splash guard or whatever it's called, and then the timing gasket and the timing cover. Put all the bolts in there, snug those up, looking good. Oil pan and oil filter cooler thingy in the back there. And now I'm giving the motor a little coat of black paint, and I'm covering the surfaces I don't want painted with tape. Okay, I put the gaskets on for the water pump, and then I coat them with a little bit of RTV. Then I put on the OptiSpark distributor. Then I put the water pump on after that. Now I am lubing up all of the lifter holes here. I'm gonna squirt some of this assembly lube right down in there. And then I put a little oil on the lifters as I slide them in. Go ahead and get all of those installed. Alright, then I put the keeper deal, the thing that holds all the lifters in. I don't know the technical term for that. And I'm just cleaning off the surface of the head, putting the head gaskets on after that. Just like so. Then I'm gonna make sure the head is really double clean, make sure there's no bits of old gasket left on there or anything. Then I put the heads onto the block. Just like that. It's starting to come together, people. Now I am wiping down all of the push rods and setting them in the motor. And then I am torquing down the heads. They go down in a certain sequence. You got to tighten down from the middle of the head and kind of work in a circle. You tighten down to around 22 pounds, then 40 something pounds, then you finish up at about 67 pounds. Some people go around 70, some people go around 60. I kind of hit the middle. The book says 67 pounds. So that's what I do. I do it right by the book. I almost got them done, and then of course I go over it one last time just to make sure everything's good. And then I set all of the rockers on there, and then I grab the intake and I start cleaning up any old gasket pieces that might be on the intake. And I lay the intake gasket in there, put a little bit of RTV silicone on the China wall, and sit the intake on the motor. Then I start bolting down the intake. And I had to go through some of our pictures to find out which bolts go where, because some are bolts and some are studs. And something might bolt to them, so we just got to figure out where those all went. Alright everybody, we're on day 4 now. As you can see, the motor's pretty much almost all together. I have a few other little things I need to put on, and I need to set the rockers. Usually I do this when it's running. I don't usually do them. I've never done them while the car's not running. But it's got a new cam and new crank and new pistons, and everything's tight, and it really needs to get oil quick. And when you first start it up, they want you to increase the idle to like between 2,000 and 2,800 RPMs and hold that for quite a while. So I don't want to start it up and have it be idling and have to be out here, you know, doing my lifters. I want to start up and rev it up like they say to, so it can be slanging oil all over all these new parts rather than just idling and maybe not getting everything covered in oil as much as it needs to be, like they say during the break-in period. So I am going to try adjusting the rockers while the engine is not running, sitting right here on the engine stand. So it seems pretty simple. I looked into it, so I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. Like I said a second ago, I am going to be adjusting the rockers. So I got to roll the motor over until the intake valve is all the way open, and then I go ahead and I adjust the exhaust valve on that cylinder. And I go through and I just do all 16 valves that way. When the exhaust is open, I adjust the intake. When the intake is open, I adjust the exhaust valve. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see me adjust them, then I roll the motor over and you can see the rockers move up and down. I flip the motor upside down now, and I am going to put a little tack on this oil pump to ensure it does not fall off in the pan in the future. I hear a lot of people do that as a safety measure, so I wanted to do the same. Now I'm installing my headers. Alright everybody, so here's day 5, I think. Working on this LT-1. Not feeling very good last couple of days. I think my MS is starting to relapse on me. But nevertheless, this thing needs to get done. As you can see, we got a lot done here. So I'll put you guys back on the time lapse. Okay, so I'm really cleaning up this oil cooler thingy. And you really got to make sure you clean this so super good to make sure there's no metal shavings left in there. So I got that all cleaned out. I am attaching it to the motor. Get that all cinched down. Then I put the lines on. And then I put a towel over the crank there because I'm cleaning out any rust that's left on the bottom pulley there, the harmonic balancer pulley. Then time for the motor mounts. Get those on there. Bolt them down good and tight. Then I'm cleaning up some of the accessory drive here. Go ahead and get that alternator on. Next, we're getting the power steering pump on. And I'm cleaning up a little bit more of the bracketry, getting all the old oil or dirt or whatever may have been on there before I bolt it onto the motor. And then next I install the air pump. And then of course Alec wanted to get in there and play around and be on YouTube. Now me and Nate are getting ready to pull the motor off from the motor stand with the cherry picker here. Nate's cleaning up a little bit. I'm getting the motor ready. We go ahead and we get that sucker off the stand. Now I can go ahead and install the rear main seal and the oil pump. Oil pan, I mean. Alright, so we're getting all those bolts in there. Day 6, 7, 8, I don't know. So yeah, here we are. Putting the motor in. I already voted today. You gotta vote. And Nathan is voting as well. So it's just me right now. Getting this sucker in the K-frame. We're getting this sucker in the K-frame. I'm gonna see if I can go ahead and get this lowered down in all by myself. Well, this would normally be a two-man job, but I am by myself and I just need to keep moving. So I just let the cherry picker up and down, and then I slid the jack underneath the back side of the motor there. And that's really how I was able to do it. And I went ahead and got the motor mount bolts in there. And then I went ahead and started putting my spark plug wires on. So I got all those on. And then Nate goes ahead and puts the flywheel on. Or the flex plate, I guess you would call it. And then we put the transmission on and we get that all bolted up. Get the motor mount bolts all tight and stuff. And a few other things plugged in and ready to go. And now we lower the car down and start guiding stuff through to get this motor back in the car. Some may think it's weird to see the motor go in through the bottom because old days everything used to come out through the top, but this is really a lot easier for it to go through the bottom. You can barely pull it through the top. What I'm showing you here is anti-seize, and that makes it so the next time you ever have to pull a motor or pull that particular bolt out, it comes out a lot easier. So as you can see, the motor is in the car. And we're just going ahead and going over stuff, hooking up transmission lines and everything, and starting to plug in the wiring harness. There's a lot of little tedious things that need to happen right now. And we're going through every bit of that. Alright guys, so I don't know, it's like day 8 or 9 or 47, I don't know. But pretty much everything is done in the car, 98%. Got a couple little plug-ins and a ground or two to hook up. The car would probably run right now. I need to get this mass airflow on, so maybe it wouldn't run right now. But anyways, yeah, just like a couple, I gotta put this on and plug that in, and a couple other little things. That's gotta be plugged in as well. But we're gonna go ahead and put the serpentine belt on, stuff like that. But we're gonna go ahead and put the oil in, put ATF in the transmission, fill the radiator with antifreeze, put the oil filter on, little things like that. But it should hopefully start today. All right, we're getting the battery in there, and if you watch that right side headlight, the right side of the car, driver's side, you'll see the battery makes a connection because the headlight starts going up and down. All right, I guess. Lord, I want you to watch over this little 350, 355. Bless her. And me and Nathan and doing a good job, and this baby's gonna start up and run good and just be a good little ripper. In Jesus' name, amen. Little prayer on there. Over there. Do another little prime. No squirting. Look at that very back fuel line in the back.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. No, everything looks good. I prime it one more time now.
Battery wires. That's tight. Fucking started. She runs! Yeah! Fucking fired right up pretty much. Hitting on all 8, no, nothing missing. A little bit of rattling lifters at first. Like that. I want you to listen real closely at about 23 minutes and 25 seconds. You will hear something that scared me very badly. Here it comes. Did you hear that? What was that?
Grandpa. Candy? What? Favorite candy.
What do you want to do?
Because her friend's house tomorrow. And I go home with her.
I see what it was. Lifter fell off.
Going home after school with her.
One of the rockers turned sideways and fell off from the push rod.
Day in the truck.
God, that fucking scared me, dude.
I know, man. It's stuff like that. Well, it's be scary.
Alright, we had a freaking rocker pop off. Alright, we're gonna adjust the valve. We're gonna adjust the rockers on the driver's side now.
Still getting up there. I don't know if it's just because it's not reading because it still ain't opening up.
Well, what we got going on now, guys, is we're trying to burp the coolant system. The gauge inside is saying it's hot, but our temperature gun on the outside is saying it's not hot yet. And since we've had the whole motor apart, you got to get water down through all those galleries in the head and the intake and the block and everything. So it may take a minute. All right, guys. We got the thermostat to open up. The system's burped. She's sitting here just purring like a kitten. Let me take you to the back so you can listen to the little bit of chop. Now, this ain't a huge cam, but it's big enough for me. Oh, dude. Well, that's all for tonight. Saturday, a little bit of brake bleeding, so the tire's on, and take her out and take you guys for the first run. All right, so here we are. Got the car running. I got Casey this weekend. We got a few things to wrap up. He's gonna help me bleed the brakes. The transmission line had a little bit of fluid kind of running down the line. Ain't really dripping yet, but I'm just gonna make sure they're tightened up. Give a lot of things a once over, and maybe back the car out today. So we'll see. Back to the time lapse. All right, I'm really glad Casey wanted to come up here with me and play around, because technically this is Casey's car. I gave it to him a long time ago when he was like 8 years old. I said he could have this car when he's 16. At least drive it, and as long as he can treat it with respect, it will be his when he is probably 18 years old or something like that. So me and him are just doing some final touches, bleeding the brakes, putting on the serpentine belt, little stuff like that. Tidying up a little bit of wiring. I think that was about all that me and him had to do. And put the tires on, yes. We had to put the tires back on the car. We go ahead and do all that, and we're going to take her for a ride.
Yes.
Did you start? All right, here we go. Gauges are all looking good. It's nice to have a temperature gauge, boy. I've never had a temperature gauge before. I just fixed it. Pavement, finally. She sounds nice and smooth, guys. Nice and smooth. Oh, feels good riding her again, don't it, Case?
Sure does. So seems like everything's running good on this car. We'll get you a good video of it running down the road in the daylight here pretty soon.
When you get done, you gotta turn these stall lights off when we're here.
Yep, I know where those lights are.
I'm going in.
You got, hold on, I'm almost done. I got a box I want to carry. I want to carry all the way up there. Oh, I didn't pop my battery. I'll do it some other time. I don't got a pair of pliers. Until next year. Thanks for watching another episode of My RC Life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.